And it just appears that what Reverend Leon is doing here is interjecting divisiveness into what is very clear about Scripture, and that God's Word is the authoritative guide for Christians.
He is not a politician. This is not a senator or a member of Congress or the president. This was a sermon at a church here that's been visited by presidents of both parties for many, many years.
Well, reaction there from both the Family Research Council and the White House in just the last hour or so after an Easter Sunday sermon gets rather political with President Obama and his family in attendance. The pastor, Luis Leon, was delivering his sermon at St. John's Episcopal Church near the White House when he said in part, quote, "It drives me crazy when the captains of the religious right are always calling people back. For blacks to be back in the back of the bus, for women to be back in the kitchen, for gays to be in the closet, and for immigrants to be on their side of the border." Joining me now to discuss it, Bernard Whitman. He's a former pollster for President Bill Clinton. David Webb, who has hosted the David Webb Show on Sirius XM's Patriot Channel. And Father Gerald Murray, who leads the Church of the Holy Family near the United Nations in New York. Wow, so this pastor certainly set off a firestorm, and it was rather unexpected, I think. You know, this was from a pool report. The White House has pool reporters that follow the president. And it appeared everywhere today, from the Washington Post and elsewhere, talking about how the pastor threw folks for a bit of a loop with these comments. Let me start with you, Father. I take it this wasn't exactly the homily you delivered at Mass yesterday.
That homily was not delivered at my church. We talked about the resurrection and joy and hope and the power of Christ in the world. To start throwing charges of racism at the religious right is completely inappropriate. It's wrong, and it's not what you're supposed to do at church. The Reverend really needs to go back to the drawing board, come up with a better sermon.
Bernard, this is a pastor who's been really well revered by lots of presidents. I mean, he was good friends with George W. Bush, they said, and you know, he spoke at the second inauguration of George W. Bush, and not to mention the second inauguration of Barack Obama. Why did he do this? What do you think of these comments?
Look, I think that he's calling people out, some on the religious right, who have a tendency to romanticize the past and talk about the good old days. And the fact is, as he said, the good old days weren't so good for a lot of groups, for gays, for women, for immigrants, for blacks. And he's tying that to a religious teaching, and I'm Jewish, but as I understand, Jesus taught Mary, you can't go back. And the problem that, frankly, the Republican Party has and the religious right has is that they're constantly looking backwards while America is going forward. And this is
But is it appropriate for a pastor at Easter Sunday?
Because calling out bigotry of any kind, including religious-based bigotry, is absolutely correct and in the purview of our moral and religious teachers. I absolutely think it makes perfect sense.
David, I want to ask you whether you think, and we've teed up a few sound bites from Fox News Channel, from commentators on Fox News Channel after Dr. Ben Carson got political at the National Prayer Breakfast. And you will see folks in this montage that are from the left and the right condemning that. Watch.
It is not a place to be giving political statements. But I'm telling you, I thought it was just inappropriate.
I think it was inappropriate. I agree with his remarks. I wouldn't disagree with a single thing he said. It just wasn't the right venue for doing it, and in my view, didn't live up to the purpose of the breakfast.
All right, Alan, your thoughts?
What Cal said. But to do it at the National Prayer Breakfast, which is a place where we're supposed to be celebrating humility, harmony, national unity, it was totally out of place. And I'm afraid it was such an indictment of what's wrong with Washington is there's no safe space anymore for comedy. There's no safe space to be free of ideological partisanship, polarization, all that stuff that turns the American people off.
Do you expect we will hear a similar outcry of voices?
Not based on Bernard's just moral equivalence a moment ago, which I would ask him the question, name me those captains on the religious right who say we want to put women back in the kitchen, blacks at the back of the bus, and gays, you know, whatever we want to, Muslims say behead them. We have all these weird things being said by radicals. You can't name them, Bernard, so quit the false equivalence. What we have here is a difference in the message being put forth. We have a church that's essentially the church of presidents. We have a man that has, if you will, served other presidents in this capacity. But he's playing to the audience, and let's look at what he's playing to. Father Philager, Reverend Jeremiah Wright, Al Sharpton.
You're saying he's doing this because Barack Obama's in the audience?
No, but he's playing to that same message, whether it's Barack Obama or whatever. It's the same anti-anything not leftist message, which is false.
Well,
and
he could have done that at the inauguration if he really
but
wanted to do that, and he didn't do it.
It's an insult to the congregation. It's an insult to a day in which Christians are celebrating a very holy day where we're talking about unity. It's not a partisan issue. And as for the reaction, Megan, don't hold your breath. The baby will be born before you get an answer from the left on the hypocrisy in this.
Okay. Before I get back to the father, I want to ask you, Bernard, about that, because is it fair to say anything about the White House on this? I mean, they were in attendance. I was asking the question, not drawing a conclusion about whether they need to respond. They were asked about it. Jay Carney was at the White House press briefing today. He said, look, I haven't talked to the president about it. The president was in attendance. This guy's served, Democrats and Republicans. But should he have come out and said, the president was surprised by that and clearly doesn't agree with it?
I don't think so. I mean, this is not the president's spiritual advisor. It's certainly a church and a place where many presidents go. And I don't think it's the position of the president to dictate to the reverend what his sermon ought to be about. And frankly, I think a message of equality and acceptance and tolerance and progressiveness is exactly what the religious institutions in this country ought to stand for.
How about tolerance and acceptance of the religious right?
Well, I think that he's calling out what he perceives to be bigotry on the part of some members of the religious right, and I think that is well placed.
The religious right hates blacks?
No, that's not what I said, and that's not actually what he said.
But he talked about how they want blacks to go back to the back of the bus.
He accused some in the religious right of fostering an attitude of looking backwards and glorifying the past.
And he got specific, Bernard. Speak to that allegation that the religious right, according to this pastor, wants blacks to go to the back of the bus.
I think to the extent that the religious right and those on the right support restriction of voting rights, for example, that is a basic modern-day equivalent of saying, you know what? You go to the back of the bus. And it's absolutely true.
Now we have it. All right, I'll let you respond. I'm going to get the father back in a minute. Now go ahead, Dave.
This can't be unanswered. Name me those people who say those things, Bernard.
I was not the one who...
Name me those people you just cited on the religious right. Yes, you do.
I don't need to do that, David, because I didn't give the sermon.
You throw out this false equivalency in these broad statements, which is absolute, Megan, hypocrisy from the left. And you should be ashamed of yourself. You can't name these people, but you claim and you tack it onto a group of people.
Let me take it down a notch. Let me take it down a notch and ask you, Father Murray. Are we at the point now where you, I assume you are the religious right. You are.
I certainly represent traditional Catholic teaching.
Right.
Absolutely.
And do you feel like you are now at the point where you are fair game? No one can get punched around. It's not okay to rip on any particular group except for you now.
You can caricature Christian teaching and call it bigotry, and that's reasonable speech on the left these days. This nonsense that we want to disadvantage blacks, when we say that homosexual activity is sinful, to call that equivalent to denying them their basic rights? No, we're telling them if you want to live a good life, you have to follow what Jesus said. Basically, this is an attack on our freedom to preach what we believe.
And immigration. I mean, the Catholic, think of this Pope and what he's done for immigrants.
Look, if you believe in amnesty, which is the position of a lot of people on the left, you can consider yourself virtuous. But what about the people who believe in legal immigration? What about the people waiting to get in? We have lots of Catholics who want to get into this country and are waiting online. Should we disadvantage them because people who broke the law got in? No, but let's have a debate on it. Let's not caricature and say those people are evil, they believe in this, we're the only virtuous ones.
The thing is, this would be controversial if it were coming from a pundit, to dismiss the religious right as being anti-black, anti-woman, anti-immigrant, anti-gay. But this is coming from a pastor, from a reverend, who heretofore had been pretty well respected and well trusted. And it's coming at Mass on Easter Sunday.
But I think some of the most powerful criticisms of organizations come from within. And I think, frankly, it's not about trying to censor religious expression. It's about holding religious institutions and leaders accountable for what they say. So if you feel that it's necessary to hold this reverend accountable, then by all means do so. But he clearly has seen instances in his professional career of those of the religious right seeking to hold back by talking about
Where were you on
past.
Carson? Was it appropriate for Dr. Carson to speak out at the National Prayer Breakfast as he did?
Look, the fact is that the National Prayer Breakfast is a political event, and the idea that it's not...
So you were okay with it?
It's always been political.
You were okay with it then?
I would not have a problem with it, no.
Okay.
Okay. This is the problem with dealing with the left, is they try to dodge around it. You ask them a yes or no question. You can't provide an answer.
I did provide.
This is an issue in America where we have to talk about appropriate behavior. This pastor spoke at other presidents' services, if you will.
And let me just jump in and tell the viewers that in the past he said he was very careful, for example, at the inauguration of President Bush the younger, very careful in preparing that prayer service and inaugural invocation to not cross the line from pastor to public policy advisor, which is not my role, he said. And then he went on to say another time, my intention is never to scold anyone during a sermon. He understood back then that that could be divisive, David.
Go back to what I said in the beginning about playing to your audience, Megan. This is the false narrative coming, which is frankly an insult to the good Father and to anyone who has a faith, whatever that faith may be, and practices it. Because it's about the power they want on the pulpit and pushing a message. Look at these pastors that say these things. They're actually anti-Christian because the Christian doctrine, if you will, does not go along with this kind of behavior. Do you sense this, Father,
that once certain people within the religious family, and including this pastor, evolve, come to a different view, whatever word you want to use, on issues like gay marriage, that there is now a bigotry on their part against anyone else who feels differently?
Well, they used to want to debate the merits of gay marriage. Now they simply want to assert that this is the only rational and Christian thing to do, and historic Christianity and the Catholic Church says absolutely not. There's no such thing as gay marriage. You can name something marriage, it's not that. But instead of debating me on that, they want to say you're a bigot, you're equal to a racist, you're equal to an anti-feminist and all the rest. And I say, hold on, that's not the reality at all. We love everyone, including sinners of all types. But we don't tell a sinner, well, you'd like to have a legal recognition for your relationship, go ahead and have it. We don't do that.
But the debate about the freedom to marry in this country is not a religious debate. It's a civic debate.
I think most people think it's a religious debate.
Because marriage is a civic institution.
I got to go.
Hard break. It is not a religious-based one.
Great debate. All of you. Thank you.